Hello. Today is November the 29th, 2022. Trading and investing of any kind carries risk. Everything discussed here is for entertainment purposes only and not to be taken as financial advice because I don't give advice. All right, let's look at today, the trading day today. We could possibly look at some of the other days as well, but let's just start with the day, because I don't really overly plan these things. I don't really plan them that much at all, so we'll see if we can fit it in. So one of the things that today and possibly some of the previous days have been pretty good for, there's been a lot of accumulation in this area. We can't seem to really break out. We can't seem to really break down. So we can look at the levels that some of this accumulation is coming in. Like, there's a lot of things that we can do. We can speculate. Tomorrow, if I recall correctly, Powell's talking. So, so we had this pull at the open. We had this pattern that was kind of setting up here. Let's look at this retrace off of this thing here. See what we got. Did we even get? No, we got 61.8. Didn't even get to 78.6. So it failed at 61.8 and pulled. So yeah, so we pulled off of that. And let's look on the way down, where this is where support and resistance levels, it's kind of good to start understanding support and resistance, right? So on the way down, you look at where we tried to halt, or tried to slow down, right? We tried to slow down right here, right? And we tried to push back up. We couldn't get above these levels here. And this level is from the close of the market on Friday. This particular level right here, right? We just hit that with this wick, just pulled. Now this is a 5-minute chart. We could dive down, and we'll do that in a minute. But on a day like today, I use the 5-minute chart as my guide for trades and scalps, because you'll usually see, even on a day like today where there's a lot of accumulation, you'll usually see something, some kind of idea. And for me, once we had this here, so once we came down here and we stopped, right, we got that wick, we started to push back up. You look at all of the places, if we were to zoom out, where we started actually trying to turn around. So it was in this area here, which is previous areas, right? There's a lot of stuff that stopped in here when we were accumulating. I don't remember which day this was. I don't remember what happened to create that pull. But anyway, so we stopped in here and we started to turn around, right? So as we did, we're not usually going to have a big pull unless there's, Powell talking or some big news or something like that. So it started to turn around and push up. So what did we do? We made this W, right? That looks like it failed at 61.8 as well. So that would be 2 in a row. And we pushed a little past. We didn't make it to 78.6, but where did we fail? We failed at roughly 61.8, but we pushed into these levels again. So we pushed into them again and we turned around, right? We couldn't get back through that area. So turned around, pulled back down. So we're firing off of this trend line now for the rest of the day. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but anyway, I'll zoom in a minute and we'll look a bit closer. But on this first push up, you can draw trend lines, but I typically in these areas, I'll draw zones. And so there's a zone right here, the bottom of this wick up here, right? If you look straight across, I usually draw a zone here because of that, right? Everything really just wanted to turn around here. And so you look at what happened. We push back up. We try to go. Can't. We get these wicks that stick up into here, and we get these real bodies that just can't stay in this level, can't stay in this area. So we pull back. Try again. Can't even make it there. I mean, we really just got rejected before we even got there. We pull back in. So the only way, within reason, the only real way to push a stock is to go back down and find buyers, right? Find a place where people are willing to buy it. That's what we did. We pulled back, came back down, and we created this trend line, but it's in this area, right? So where did we stop? Right here in this area, right? There's a lot of other stuff that was kind of stopping in this area and turning around. Look at it, all of it here. Look at all of this. Even when we zoom further out, a lot of it, it's a level that's respected. So stopped and turned around here, started to push. Well, this gives us our trend line. We push up. I mean, that in itself is a trade for a W right there, right? So you just draw that line across there, find that pop, get in it, trade it. Fairly simple trade. If it turns against you, get out of it. Start scaling out. It only went to 61.8, I think was what we determined. So we go to 61.8. Hopefully you're at least out half by there. I definitely would be. And then you just kind of take it, right? But today was a bit of a scout day. You just kind of had to keep in mind that there was a lot of stuff that really wasn't wanting to complete. Anytime we got beyond this area into these levels, just wasn't having it. It just was not looking pretty. So we get up here, we get this big wick, we start to turn around, we pull, right? So we pull back through this trend line. And when we pull through, or I say this trend line, we pull back through this level here. We pulled. We tried to even respect this zone here, but we really couldn't. But if you look at the candles on the way down, look at their bodies on the candles. They're barely really even overlapping, right? Tried to pump the brakes, super pump the brakes. And we got this doji. Where did that doji form? Right on this trend line. So turned out really nice, and then it turned around. That's a good trade to actually, that's a pretty aggressive trade to take, but you know, it's definitely something that I would do. But that's just me. So we can zoom into these a bit, and we could probably find some additional patterns. I say probably, we definitely could, because I scalped some patterns in here today. And on a day like today, typically what I look for when I go scalping, I'm usually on a 5-second chart. So we'll jump into this 5-second chart. And so what I start to look for are these little patterns that like to set themselves up. Here, little W in here. Then we push to complete it, right? So, you know, I will take that W there knowing, or at least anticipating and hoping, because I already had this level kind of drawn here down in this area. So, and you notice we come back into it a bit, but my anticipation was we were going to actually push a bit harder than that. It just took a really long time. So got into the trade. I took more than half of the trade up here. It was a pretty quick scalp for me because I took it on this C to D leg up. And then we pulled back. We didn't actually break down to a lower low. And we kind of developed this other side here. And as we popped through, I re-entered the half that I'd taken. And I just let it ride. So I let it ride, and we got this push up here. Started to scale it. Got these pullbacks, ran sideways, and I had my stop sitting right in here, if I recall correctly. And then, you know, we pushed up, and I took the rest of it in that area. And I took it in that area because it's a very well-respected area, right? So that's where I took it. And my expectation was, honestly, to probably maybe pull a bit more. I wasn't really sure because today was being a bit weird. Normally, I might ride that out a bit more. But I was pretty certain we were going to come back at least to this level. I mean, if not, if we pulled through this trend line, it was going to, or to this trend line, if we pulled through this into this zone here, and then we ended up pulling down a bit further, I was kind of looking for more of a pullback. And so I don't know if it would have been much further, but I didn't really see a reason to stay in the trade because I thought we might actually pull just below this, maybe back down to the bottom of here. That was just what I was thinking. Can't always have perfect trading days. So as we pulled back here, we started to turn around and push. And so that's when I drew that trend line. And then we came down here, and I ended up trading this W, and I took half of it right here because it was a scalp. And then I just let the rest ride. And so once we got into this area here again, I ended up taking, I think, all of it, if not almost all of it. And I probably didn't get back out of the trade.
Absorption SPY buyers at 395.34.
Until here. I probably just let it stop out, if I recall correctly. because I think I was looking for this to actually move higher. Yeah, this is where we failed. Yeah, right. We failed here. Yeah, so I was looking for us to get up around here, around 396.81, 397, something like that. So that's kind of how the day might be traded on a day like today. And there's some other scalps in here, right? I mean, this trend line's here, and we're turning around off this trend line. And if you dig into these candles and you look, we already know this, but right, I mean, there's a bigger candle here, and then there is a doji there's a doji right here, right? Because I mean, we just bounced around in here. So we ended up pushing, we made this, this kind of, what would you, I mean, I don't, you basically just had a curl, right? You curled around, created this W, pushed, created this M, and this, I mean, nothing was pulling back below this trend line. We were staying above it. So, there were definitely some scalps, this W here, this W here, like there were some other places you could have played here up into this level. So anytime I took a scalp, I would take most of it through this level here. I wasn't really holding it anywhere or much at all past that, because I didn't really, I mean, at least I could tell it just wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going to. Once we got past this level, it just wasn't going anywhere. I was really thinking that because of how hard it was to stay up here, that we might pull a head and shoulders off here, but we did not. Doesn't mean we won't, but yeah, that's kind of how a day like today might be traded. As far as big picture goes, absorption
ESC to CME sellers at 39.62.
Who knows with what Powell can say. We could complete this pattern here, this pull down here, or I mean, he could say some things tomorrow that really kind of push us up. It's, just based upon what I'm looking at, other than some longer term patterns, it's a bit difficult for me to think that we're going to push up. It really is, other than, these bigger patterns. Yeah. I don't know. I would really like to see us complete that M. Let's see what this would give us if we pulled onto this little trend line here. Yeah, that would pull. Oh man, that would pull us right back to 390. And if we broke that, yeah, I mean, we got support here, all the way down into here. I mean, yeah, I mean, our levels of support are going to be something like this. I don't know if that wick would really be considered support, but it's definitely levels of support in here we'd have to get through. And I think this one would be pretty strong. This 380 level would be pretty strong. Yeah, we would just have to walk it down and see what happened if we were to have a pull. But I guess it's going to depend on what Powell says tomorrow. So we'll have to see how that goes. That's kind of where I stand. I mean, there's so much accumulation that's happened in here. And it's not been a ton every day. It was at first over in here. But, over the time we've been sitting in here, there's been a lot of accumulation, right? There was there was a 2 million share trade somewhere in the 394 range, 394.43 or 395.43, something like that, 394.43 I think it was. I have to go check one of my other charts I have over here. 394.43. Yeah, 394.43. So anyway, yeah, that's where it is. That's where I stand. That's kind of what I'm looking for and looking at. And, as far as the day goes, that's just how I would trade it. I mean, this was a really good day to kind of look at different levels, basic trading skills, look at the W's. You could have absolutely started measuring things out, but you look at a lot of these, I mean, they ended up being just double bottoms, and, it's just one of those days. Just a scalpy little day with a couple of nice little pops in here. So, yeah, there it is. I like making these videos. Like, subscribe, comment, tell me things, argue with me. Okay, don't argue with me. Just ask questions or, You know, feel free to correct something I've said wrong or something that you might do better. I'm perfectly cool with that. Yeah, tell everybody you know, and yeah, I will hopefully see you again soon. Bye.